All right, everyone. Biden had a series of problems lately. We're talking mainly about his Virginia blunder. He trotted Terry McAuliffe out on stage, of course, and joked about him being the legitimate governor of Virginia. That's not actually true, and he got called an election denier for this. The White House pivoting on that statement real quick to, don't worry, dude, it was just good humor. To be clear, Glenn Youngkin is the Virginia governor. He's also relatively popular. So when you go into a swing state, where you're already suffering a deficit over your prior election results. Virginia is very much in play in the 2024 election. And you alienate most of the population because Youngkin's approval is quite close to 60%. It's an inversion of Biden's numbers, by the way. That's not going to do good things for you because a lot of that support is not Republicans. Virginia is no longer a majority Republican state. A lot of those voters are unaffiliated. They are independent voters. But they like Glenn Youngkin because he's actually trying to do his job more or less. I would, again, be very, very surprised if he was not on the short list of people considering a 28 run. He very, very wisely stood back. He did what DeSantis didn't do and said, I'm going to wait because regardless of what happens with Big Don, I don't want none of that. He would have lost quite handily. I don't think he would have even hit 10. By staying out of it, he can absorb the MAGA vote if he plays his cards right, and probably whirlwind his way around DeSantis in the process, who probably will also run in 2028 as well. It'll be an interesting election. It'll probably be just as fireworks as 24, so it's a series of interesting elections. 2016, only a handful of us predicted Trump's win, and then that caused a meltdown with the left. 2020, we've got ballot printers go brrr. 24, Trump's return of the Jedi moment. We'll see how that works out. And then in 28, with a clean slate and no incumbent, guaranteed, it's going to be a real interesting time. This is a big blunder for Joe Biden, though. It would be like going into New Hampshire and berating Chris Sununu, the TDS sufferer. I don't think it would go over well for your polling numbers. If you look at the polling that is available for Virginia, for what little it's worth at this point in the race, it's pretty close. It's not unwinnable for Donald Trump, who presumptively will be the nominee. If he takes Virginia, it's all over. The Democrats will begin to have a nervous breakdown that'll make 2016 look like a fucking Tea Party. Then he had another weird blunder. The beer factory there, standing in front of all the kegs. And he just started incoherently mumbling something. It's not exactly sure what he was trying to intone. Then he wanders off stage, and for a brief moment in time, he appeared to listen to one of the beer kegs, like it was talking to him. Look it up for yourself. I was like, what? What the fuck is going on here? I think somebody had a few too many brewskis at the beer factory. I think that maybe he got a little bit too loaded. It interfered with his Alzheimer's medication or something like that. I just don't. At this point, it's almost like, is he trying to self-sabotage or something like that? Between this and the border crisis and everything else going on, Biden's incoherent messaging, it's almost like he's like, fuck it, I don't want to be president anymore. I think that I'll just pull a slip on a banana peel sort of thing, and then, crack my skull and pass out, and then Trump becomes president. I don't think it's likely that he stands down for the election. I think that he probably will still accept the nomination. But it's almost like he doesn't have the will to go on. I'm thinking about a funny idea. And this isn't true, but it'd be a funny conspiracy anyway. Imagine that Joe Biden is pissed at his own party for forcing him to have Kamala, which pisses his wife off and certainly gets him reamed, I'm sure, as running mate. And they control him, and they basically whisper into his ear like Grima Wormtongue telling him what to do. And he realizes that their policies are unpopular and a mess, and it's screwing with him, and he's an egotist still, the same way he always has been, and he wants to be the big guy. He doesn't want to be remembered as the old feeble dude who retired in disgrace with 30% approval or something like that. He wants a legacy, but they're denying him a legacy. And so he just decides to burn the fucker down on the way out and say, well, two could play at that game. I'm going to be so goddamn atrocious and so unlikable and so incoherent that the opponent is a shoo-in. And the Republicans manage to win with a convicted felon who has an ankle monitor on. And that'll really, really fuck my political party because they're fucking me. Be an interesting plot to a story, actually. Maybe it happened. This is a big blunder, though. To to make that kind of a joke when you're constantly casting your opponents off as election deniers, number one. Even if you say, well, it was just a joke, man, come on. Nobody thought it was funny. That's number one. And number two, McAuliffe lost to Youngkin badly for a reason, because he is inept, and his messaging on education especially was dirt poor. Educational messaging was, parents have no right to determine what their kids are learning. We're going to teach them communism. By the way, the whole abortion thing didn't go over too well with Northam, etc., now did it? Yeah, I don't know if there should be any limit on it. Yeah, a woman's 9 months pregnant and she's already crowning, well, it's perfectly acceptable to kill it at that moment. Yeah, the Democrats really flubbed that issue. It's for them, the saving grace is that the Republicans never capitalized upon that. Instead, Lindsey Graham came out and offered the counteroffer. Well, I don't think that abortion should be legal at all, including in the case of rape or incest. Even if a woman's life is in danger, yeah, she should be unable to access that procedure. By the way, if she goes to another state where it is legal, we'll just arrest her when she gets home. That messaging was somehow worse than the Democrats' unlimited abortion messaging. Republicans are good at that. In fact, that's the only way that this works out well for Biden in the end, is if the Republicans bother to weigh in on it in an official capacity. Because you know that they'll fuck themselves. They'll say something stupid. Glenn Youngkin's not part of that stupid Republican club. You've got a few Republicans that actually understand messaging. You've got Rand Paul and Trump and Massey, and you've got Glenn Youngkin. I know that some people consider him more of a neocon. I see him more as a missing link, like a Ted Cruzite or something like that. I have a huge problem with him. Not a stellar candidate maybe, but he's not bullshit. So he's not like certain other people that are running right now. Nikki Haley, not a dedicated war hawk either. Did sign on with the Texans over Operation Lone Star, unlike our Republican governor, well, Republican in name here in Vermont. A big blunder, and then he capped it off by listening to the beer. I guess the beer was whispering to him saying, Joe, that was incoherent, man. You should put down the goddamn cask, I know you want to take one back to the White House and drain that fucker, but, you're 80 years old. You're not 18 anymore, so maybe leave the kegs to the youngins, okay? That's about all. Peace out.